So hopefully I can keep this relatively short and coherent. So I'm sitting in the parking lot at Costco right now because I'm trying to take advantage of the last little bit of sunlight of the day. But I just listened to a video from
how God has been there for me because of my faith.
DoDash.
I didn't grow up.
Why is that still going? Okay. From DoDash. And I haven't made a video in quite a while at this point. Been a few months because I got busy and changed jobs and applied to residency and everything. But that was my first video I ever seen from her, and I like subscribed right from the first videos. But I watched a couple other videos from her. One of them like especially stuck out to me. She was talking about using your gifts. Now, as far as like using your gifts, your gift is being your authentic self, right? And it stuck out to me because that's almost been like a huge underlying theme of this year for me. Something that I learned big time this year. And I would say that because I had quite a setback this year. I guess that's putting it mildly to some people, but I consider it a gift at this point because of what it has taught me, because of the different trajectory I've gone on because of it. So to go ahead and kind of give that story, I had finished my electives in medical school in June. I think it was halfway through June of 2023. I officially graduated in December of 2023, got the other, testing done and ECFMG certification and everything. Of course, the official walk isn't until like May of the following year. But I officially graduated and got my degree in December 2023 from Ross University. And so that year I did apply to the match cycle. And I applied to anesthesia at the time. Now, was it a bad idea to apply just to anesthesia and no other program or easier to get into program? Yes. But I was also very burnt out, just being honest. I've fluctuated through burnout the whole time through medical school. So, full disclosure. So yeah, I just applied to anesthesia, decided to go out on a limb, go out on faith. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm choosing. That's what I want to do. Let's go. Fast forward to match. I went to some conferences and everything in between. Fast forward to match, which was March of this year, 2024. I only ended up getting 2 interviews. One of those interviews came from the hospital that I did most of my rotations at, my core rotations and a couple of electives. And then the second one came from the program that I did my, case report with. I had reached out to them to do a case report with them, and it was, the first thing I've ever gotten published. So I'm quite proud of that. But, that's also part of the story, but I'll come back to that. So March 2024, I didn't match. So I had to go through the whole process of soaping and everything. Got a few more interviews. Specifically, I think it was in family medicine. Went through those interviews. I mean, should I go into those details? I guess it's not really a whole lot to tell, but I went through those interviews. I was very lost at the time, very distraught, of course, because I was just frustrated with the whole thing. And then soaping is a very stressful process. Those who don't know, who aren't into medicine and everything, I don't remember right now what SOAP stands for. I could always put it in the description below. But it's basically a process after match, right? If you don't match into a program, a residency program, then you have a kind of scramble type of thing to get you into whatever program that'll pick you up for any slots that went unfilled after match. So, and it's a daily process. You're just getting basically called randomly or emailed randomly asking either to set up an interview or to interview you right on the spot. So at least my job was like, you know, at the time was very helpful, and they already understood the situation and what was going on. Everybody was super nice. I was scribing for an optometrist at the time. But yeah, I went through that whole process, and very stressful, everything. Went through all that for like, what, I think it was like a week or something, but it felt so much longer than a week, and still didn't match into any program. So of course, still very distraught, depressed, frustrated, all of those emotions, and you know, just sick of all of it. But I can't tell you exactly what happened or what kind of aha moment, what kind of process, because I don't entirely remember all of it, but I know that this just kind of came over time. It just was like, I don't know. I always thought if I went through a setback like that I would just give up and just say, you know, F it, I didn't really want this anyways, let me just move on, do something else. But no, just something within me just decided to keep moving. So at least, you know, with Ross, I had a good advisor, which is great. I won't speak on other things than Ross, but I had a good advisor. He reached out after not matching and everything, helped me to plan out what I wanted to do, some possible job opportunities, research opportunities, stuff like that. I went about, like, you know, communicating back and forth with him as far as like, yeah, I'm interested in this, let me apply to this, or I'm not interested here. But then also in the meeting that was very interesting and something that I wish had been done earlier is a really in-depth conversation about what is it that you want. Like, what is it that fuels your fire and you are passionate about, and something that's already a part of your life. Like, is anesthesia it? And I knew it wasn't. Like, I mean, I love anesthesia. I still do. Like, I still am very interested in the process, like the history of anesthesia, just how it works and everything. But it's not something that I can say, like, I can have a heated discussion about or anything like that. But it was just like, yeah, no, I'm not super passionate about this. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't really know. I mean, I liked a bunch of different things and I didn't like a bunch of different things. And so he started from, you know, like, what didn't I definitely not like? And OB-GYN is one of them, just being perfectly honest. I am not for OB-GYN. Yeah, I already got my part, and I'm not into, you know, the medicine of other women's parts, if that makes sense, to put it nicely. And then internal medicine also is just not for me. Those are two that I just, you know, I don't want to round for hours and hours and hours and go through every single lab detail every day. It's not for me. So going through the stuff that I didn't like, had at least crossed some things off the list. We talk about the possibility of, like, family medicine, and, you know, I talked about how I'm very interested, of course, in, like, even in my own life, like, I'm very passionate about my health holistically. Let me turn this heat down. Yeah, so I'm very interested in my own holistic health and the holistic health of my family, of my friends. I always try to advocate for that. I've been doing that actually for a long time, even before medical school and everything. I was always the weird kid, like, I think I used to like sandwiches a lot as a little kid, but then I put, like, a limit on, oh, you can't have more than 2 sandwiches in a day, because I was, like, bizarrely health conscious, to where, like, I didn't like sugar very much. If I ate candy, it would either be the sour candies at the time or just chocolate, but there was a lot of candies I didn't like. And then learning about dyes and MSG and everything like that growing up, it was just like, there's a lot of stuff I didn't eat, and I was, like, more into eating vegetables and stuff, so that was interesting. But yeah, I was that weird little kid. So yeah, having that conversation about what I'm interested in. I'm kind of a gym buff. Like, I go at least 2 or 3 times a week. and then try to do yoga in between. Go on walks, hiking, you know. I really like physical exertion, that kind of thing. Used to play tennis. Yeah. So just taking that into account, the fact that I'm not big on like pharmaceuticals, like I feel like they have their purpose, but I'm not a pill pusher by any means. So taking that all into account though, he was like thinking, so okay, so what about family medicine? I'm like, I don't know. So he told me to go look into it. I looked into a few different things, and I'm like, you know, sports medicine sounds very interesting. Just kind of went for that. And then we also discussed like the possibility of like volunteering for the Olympics, which sounded super exciting to me. So yeah, that conversation was really important. I wish that it would have been had earlier in medical school, like a really down to earth conversation about, okay, so what do you like about this specialty? What don't you like about this specialty? But I don't feel like there was ever really that conversation. Like I always tell people now, I feel like I just, throughout medical school, like you have test after test, rotation after rotation, and I felt like I just kind of got caught up in all of that and just chose something. It was just like, yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I enjoy aspects of this, and sure. Because I mean, there's a lot of us that just choose things because it's a job. I can't tell you how many doctors and residents I've asked, like, so why did you choose this specialty? And they're like, I mean, it's a job, you know, I didn't like anything else. So yeah, just going through those motions, I see how I ended up not getting matched. And then not only that, I wasn't the most competitive for getting into anesthesia anyways, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, that was an eye-opener. And then fast forward, I got my current job as a simulation technician at the same hospital that I did like most of my rotations at, and met a medical student that was rotating through the hospital, and he was in his 3rd year, and it was just like happenstance, because I'm not the type of person that looks for friends, if that makes sense. I've always said this. I don't. So that's why it was kind of odd. The first month I started working at the hospital, I meet this medical student, and we go to hang out and everything, and we like talk about like our passions in medicine and like stuff that had even happened in our lives that like really push us. And one of the things for me that was a kind of a similar point between both of us, right? Like my uncle had passed away back in 2021, the end of 2021. And he was only 33 years old. He died from COVID exacerbated diabetes. Yeah, so he had died from COVID exacerbated diabetes. He only found out and got diagnosed with diabetes that year. But it was like really, really advanced and bad at that point. Like my family, most of my family, I guess I could say most part of them, some of my family are like more for going to the doctor for everything and just trusting whatever the doctor says, and then the other part of my family don't trust anything in the medical field, and that's how I was raised. Very pessimistic about the medical field, which is a whole other conversation. So I've never really had rose-colored glasses to think that, you know, oh, we're healing people or anything like that. I'm just more for doing what I can to change what I see to be a very messed up and skewed system with good people in it, with good intentions. So yeah, I grew up more like that, just kind of, what would you say, medical averse, I guess. So yeah, my uncle didn't go to the hospital for the longest until it was bad. Like I guess his legs were tingling and stuff like that, and he just like had asked me about it all of a sudden. I was like, and then he was like urinating a lot, and I was like, okay. But yeah, he ended up like going to emergency. I think he had like 1,500 blood sugar or something insane. But yeah, fast forward, he had passed. That was very, very very hard on all of us, to say the least. And we found out afterwards that he wasn't taking his insulin, he wasn't taking his medication. He was trying to go about it the natural route, although he was already way beyond handling it naturally. So yeah, that was my experience personally. That was a huge catalyst for me. And just in that, to me, the importance of patient education, which again solidified the decision, I think, for family medicine, because not to say that patient education isn't important in all the specialties, of course it is, but I feel like family medicine can, with the strong continuity of care and comprehensiveness of the care, I think that that's like a better way to be able to encourage more patient education on a grassroots level. Yeah, so that was kind of a similar point between me and this medical student. And we, long story short, had decided that, you know, because the hospital that we're at is in a very underserved area, we decided, like, yeah, let's figure out how we can start a community outreach program with the hospital. It's still going. It's awesome. I'll probably do a video on it because, yeah, it's my baby and something that I'm passionate about and very proud of myself, because I never would have, like, people who had even known me, like, even a couple years ago would be like, wow, I can't believe you're doing something like this. Like, seriously, because I'm much more ambiverted now than I have ever been. I've always been an introvert and to myself and not very confident. This is probably the most confident I've ever been in my life, which is a beautiful thing. But it's also because of, again, like I said, this like so-called setbacks in my life have made me much more confident, as crazy as that sounds. So yeah, just full circle, when she was talking about being more authentic, a lot of times those setbacks, those like little harsh gifts that life gives you, chips away at the facade you try to put up. And for the longest time in my life, I feel like, even when I was a little girl, like, there was always this person I thought I was supposed to be like, quote unquote, perfect, and, you know, to be, you know, the best daughter and the best sister, and, you know, to be a good person, because I'm a very competitive person, for one thing, but also because, like, I really want to put my best foot forward. But sometimes, a lot of times, putting your best foot forward is being yourself. And yeah, it's just medical school, and I think that just the difficulty, not only of medical school, but also just the things I've gone through these past few years, have like slowly chipped away at that facade enough to where, like, a version of me that I never like really knew or was in tune with has been emerging, like, more and more. And it's such a beautiful thing. It's so freeing, like, honestly, just to truly feel more and be more like myself, and like meeting people who, you know, like finding out, like, hey, people actually like you for who you are. It sounds trivial probably to some people, but like, you don't have to do all the extra stuff to find your tribe, and for people to like you, or for, you know, for you to attract your destiny. You don't have to do all this extra stuff. Now, granted, I am extra, like, naturally, but at the same time, to be more authentic and raw is a very freeing and beautiful experience, and it has brought me so many opportunities. I mean, just to be able to do the community outreach project and impact as many people as we have already in such a short amount of time has been just utterly amazing. Now we're trying to figure out how to make it a permanent program at the hospital, so that when I move on to residency, it keeps going. So I've learned that a lot this year, big time. And even kind of another confirmation with that, last year, like, when I was applying anesthesia and just kind of going with what I thought I should do, rather than following my passions and my heart. Like, I got 2 interviews, not including the soap interviews, but 2 interviews last cycle. This cycle, I applied for family medicine and like actually have a story and actually have like a passion and like a line of sight, a goal, like something that I really want to do in the future. And people can feel that and hear that. And I can actually interview and like talk about these passions and like talk about who I am and be myself in these interviews completely, and people actually like it. Like I've had so many people like I'll send thank you emails to the interviewers, and I've had so many interviewers like email me back saying like, wow, you really did an amazing job, like you're an amazing person, you're gonna do great things, like just like out of pocket, like fantastic things. And I'm just like, wow, all I had to do was be myself and follow the passions and the gut feeling that God's been giving me this whole time. So yeah, I went from 2 interviews to what I had this cycle, 41 interview offers, which is insane. Which of course I didn't take all of the offers, but almost half of the programs that I had applied to, I've gotten interview offers from them, which is just mind-boggling, just thinking about where I've come from. And then half of those I actually took the interviews. So yeah, I mean, things are definitely looking up, but then it just makes me very, like, much more excited for my future. And I wanted to share that. And this is all, again, from that YouTuber, Dodash, because she inspired this. I was thinking about this before, but it just inspired me to go ahead and do this video on it. Because I want to be able to also share this to inspire people. Again, there's a ton of videos out there saying, you know, be yourself. Even when you like ask like faculty and doctors, like, what should I do in interviews and how should I answer questions? They always tell you, be yourself, be your authentic self. And you're like, what does that mean? But no, like, seriously, like, as weird as you may think that you are, and I tend to think of myself as being pretty weird, people really like that. I mean, I know I like that, but the fact that really showing up as you is so important, because like we're all a part of the source and we're all different renditions of God, but showing up as this version that you were created to be is so important, because you were created to be this version for a purpose at the specific time. For a purpose. And a lot of times we add all this extra like makeup and masks on top of it because we're like trying to suppress that, hide it, like, oh my gosh, like people are gonna think I'm weird, I'm not like anybody else. No, you're not. You're not supposed to, though. At the same time, like, that's the catch. It reminds me of that scene from Kung Fu Panda, actually, when they open the dragon scroll and find out, like, what's the secret ingredient to Kung Fu or whatever. It's you. Like, you are literally the answer, which I think I did a video on that. But yeah, you're the answer. So just wanted to come on and say that. I almost went 30 minutes already, but yeah, if you got any questions, please be sure to ask them below. And y'all have a fabulous day or night, or, you know, whatever, whenever you see this. And yeah, later, loves.